a century now, Tampa firefighters have been serving the community of Tampa, but during that century, there's really been no place for the firefighters to house their history. Hello and welcome to Fireline. I'm Bill Wade, a captain with Tampa Fire Rescue. A community-based group is now taking that problem of housing the history of the fire department and finding a place to put it. In this building here at Jefferson and Zach Street in downtown Tampa, this building behind me is old Fire Station number 1. It was built in 1911 and served the community until about 1978 when a new building was built right across the street. Since the 1970s, this building has basically been offices and a warehouse. In the mid-1990s, a community-based group was formed to turn this building into not only a fire museum, but a life safety education center, a place where the firefighters of the Tampa area can house their history. You need to know where you've been so you know where you're going. And that's what the purpose of this building behind us is going to be, to house the artifacts that represent the firefighting history of the city of Tampa. We're going to talk to some individuals who are involved with the history of the fire department. Matter of fact, we're going to meet a very interesting individual who has a 1925 Tampa fire truck that he stores in his garage that will eventually be a showpiece here in the museum. We're going to find out about a fundraiser that's to be held here on March 11th to raise money needed to return this building to its original status and turn it into a museum. And also we're going to find out about some of the artifacts that will be housed in this museum. We have the pleasure once again of being inside the Tampa Firefighters Museum, I should say the future home of the Tampa Firefighters Museum, and standing with us is Assistant Fire Marshal Todd Spear, who's the chairman of the nonprofit group. And, well, just for those people who are not familiar with this building, if you give us a background of where we are and what this building stood for many years ago.
Well, thank you, Bill. This building was the home of Tampa Fire Headquarters from 1911, when the building was constructed, until 1978, when firefighters moved to their new fire headquarters across the street. The significance in this building and the history of the fire department is significant in that it served as our headquarters for so many years. It was also the last fire station that was built in the city to accommodate horses and horse-drawn fire apparatus. So the station here had seen quite a change in technology from our earliest days of firefighting in Tampa into the modern era. And because of that, and because of its location downtown, its location next to the current working fire headquarters, firefighters here felt that this was a wonderful place to tell a story about our history and to house the Tampa Firefighters Museum.
And I understand over the past year there's been a lot of progress in turning this building from basically what was a warehouse into a firefighters museum.
There has been an awful lot of activity that's gone on in the last year. We've been very fortunate to have the unwavering support of Mayor Greco and his staff. In the last year, we managed to secure 3 different grants, one for a wonderful program that we'll see in Ybor City in March about some devastating fires that happened in the Ybor City neighborhoods in the late 1800s and early 1900s. We received a grant that has allowed us to hire an architect and begin the initial planning and evaluation of the building itself. We've also received a $313,000 grant from the Florida Department of State to begin the renovations of the exterior of the building. And by this time next year, we'll be well on our way to having the outside of the building look as it did in the early part of its life.
Now, we keep referring to this building as a museum, but actually future plans call for it more than being just a collection of memorabilia. I understand it's going to actually be some activities and education center here.
Exactly. The mission of the Tampa Firefighters Museum is going to be twofold. One is to preserve the history and heritage of the Tampa firefighter and how that fit into the city of Tampa as it grew and prospered. And the other is to provide fire safety education opportunities. Give a firefighter a soapbox and we take every chance that we can. So we hope that when people come to visit here or when they come to see one of our outreach programs, that they will leave not only knowing a little bit more about the past of Tampa and how folks in Tampa rallied together to protect our communities from fire, but also to leave knowing how to make themselves and their families safer against fire.
One other note, I understand also there's been some planning for a memorial room that's going to be actually housed here within the museum. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. One of the things that we don't have in the city of Tampa is any kind of fitting memorial to those firefighters who gave their lives in the line of duty for the citizens and their friends and neighbors of Tampa. As part of the museum, one of the things that we hope to do is have within the museum a memorial room, an area where there can be some quiet reflection and some understanding about what exactly these people gave up for their friends and their neighbors. And we're also looking at the possibilities of having an outside memorial at some location to also serve as a focal point for remembrances of those who have given their lives.
Very good. Sounds like it's going to be a multifaceted place. Tell us a little bit about this truck that we're standing here in front of. I don't know how much we can see of it here.
This is a 1949 Mack. We call it a Little Mack because it was on a short chassis. This truck is actually still in service with Tampa Fire Rescue. It's used now solely for parades and public education functions. But this truck was in active service from 1949 until the early 80s when it was taken out of firefighting service. But it's one of two older trucks the Tampa Fire Rescue still owns within the department. And it's a wonderful addition to our museum.
We've moved to the back of the apparatus floor where the trucks were parked, and I see here what appears to be some type of wood or something that was nailed to the floor years ago.
Well, this is an outline of what had been one of the dividers in the stalls for the horses. As I mentioned, this was the last station that was built to accommodate horses for horse-drawn steam engines, and the horses were kept in this area. The stalls were here, and the horses were taken out daily to walk.
So the horses were kept back here in the stalls, and then when an alarm sounded, what would happen?
The horses were trained well enough to move in front of their respective apparatus.
And that was up here somewhere?
Yes. We have indications that a steamer was housed in this part of the building. And as the horses would move to the front of the steamer, the harnesses were tied by pulleys and ropes to the ceiling. Firefighters would lower the harness onto the horses, attach it very quickly. The horses were ready as fast, if not faster, than the firefighters were to get out of the station.
And then these grooves here had some relevance to the horses?
Yes, indeed. The grooves in the concrete floor are there to give the horses traction as they pull those heavy steam engines out onto the street. These grooves in the concrete are much like those we find in sidewalks to help wheelchair access and keep bicycle wheels from slipping and so on. And in the early days of the fire stations, this was here to allow the horses more traction to pull the steamers.
And actually, if you looked at here, you can also see some of the hoof prints where the horses clawed at the cement trying to get the traction.
Yes, indeed.
In addition, some of the larger fire apparatus will be on display in the Fire Museum in the near future. There'll also be some of the smaller tools that firefighters used through the 19th century. With me is firefighter Les Ennis, Tampa Fire Rescue. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Tell us about some of the items that you've brought out here to show us.
Okay, what I've just brought out here is just a different assortment of different nozzles that they've used through the times. The evolution of time, you can tell back in the early days what they used to use was just a straight bore nozzle such as this, where it didn't have no valves looking on it. But you can see the diameter of the hose, and usually it was connected to a leather hose. But there was no control. But then again, back in those days, all we had was the hand pump fire trucks and the water to come along. This is an evolution not from when they used to throw the buckets of water on the fire. You had no control, but this was a great nozzle, and at the time they could have lots of penetration. Back in those days, there was no breathing apparatus or really significant fire protection for the firefighters. So they could use this nozzle to reach the stream, and they could stand a ways away and fight the fire from the distance. And then they come along with the pumps as they evolutionized. They started coming along where we had the shut-off valves. So the firefighters had control of the water. It wasn't just, hey, stop pumping the pump and this and that. They could keep on pumping the pump. And you could have the nozzles here. Okay, and they can control the water rate from the nozzle. But you can see we still had the smooth bore because the firefighter protection at that time wasn't all out well. So they could still stay back from the fire and fight the fire, but have that significant reach of stream. And it goes along, as we were talking in the days of now, we got the small nozzles for the smaller fires, and of course, the bigger nozzles for the bigger fires. And put that around there, and you needed a couple firefighters just lifting the weight of the solid brass, but just to control the water, amount of water flowed through a 2.5-inch hose to go to the fire. But again, we had the valve controlling that. We could open and close the nozzles. And then if we went up to the really big fires, we typically call the stang nozzle, and this was set up on a master stream operation. We had the really big fires, and most of the time you had the two firefighters operating off of this. Most of the time we saw it, though, was in a fixed position where you could have lots of water. I mean, you can imagine the amount of water this would put out and two firefighters trying to hold on to it and play it. But it's called a play pipe. So that's what they usually do. But you could use it for master stream, but you could also manhandle it with two firefighters on it if possible.
Well, a lot of strength. Now, you mentioned the firefighter protection, and probably one of the most noticeable pieces of firefighter protection that has, as you said, developed over the years is the fire helmet. How about tell us a little bit about this old fire helmet?
Well, this is one of the probably early 1900 nozzles, but back in when the firefighting really standed out, firefighters were always prominent in the community, and they all stood out, and they had real tall hats and dress parade hats and stuff, and that's what they wore. And then as they evolution along and they started getting closer to fire and stuff started coming down, they come into a helmet like this, and these helmets are made of leather, and you can see with the leather aging and cracking and everything else in this helmet. But they put these helmets on basically to protect them, to protect their head. The shield on the front was the identification for the firefighters of what company they used to have. There were some really elaborate ones. Like I said, the firemen were really quite showmen, and they were always prominent in the neighborhoods. Somebody had big old eagles on top, and the more flamboyant and show off, the tougher you work, because there was a big competition back in the days between the fire companies. The back here was for the water and the ashes to roll off, so it wouldn't go down your collar of your shirt, so you wouldn't get burns on the back of your neck. So that was what that idea was, for the runoff to come off the back. Okay, and it was in the old days when truckmen used to turn their helmets around so they could stop the ashes and the stuff coming down the eye, so you had a big old bill on the front. But as they evolution along, and now they come into leather helmets, and now they've come along into Kevlar and the fiberglass helmets, and as time modernizes and protection gets a lot better and improved. But the leather helmets, you can see, are still holding up real good.
So it appears what we're going to be able to see through this museum is not only an evolution of the fire apparatus, but also the equipment that came with that fire apparatus.
The evolution of the fire apparatus and firefighting, and the fire equipment, and also the education and what we've learned from what's happened in the past to improve ourselves to better serve the community.
And some of these items, might they be on display at the event on March 11th?
Oh, definitely. March 11th is going to be a good day. We're going to have some of the old fire apparatus out here that can still pump and shoot water out, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of the old retirees, and it's going to be an interesting event to see these old trucks that can still, in the back in the days, were the ultimate. But we look at them today, are like, yeah, what are you now? But they can still pump, and they can still, the timing, and the retirees and the old timers still enjoy using them and showing them off. The cooking contest gets to show off the firefighters' talents in the kitchen, which will all be also on March 11th. That's another one of the things firefighters take pride in, fighting fires and looking good, but they also take pride in their cooking and being able to eat well.
One of the future jewels of the Tampa Fire Department Museum is going to be this 1925 Tampa fire truck that's owned and operated by retired Captain Mike Morris. Captain, why don't you give us an idea of the history of this fire truck and how it came to be living here at your house for a while?
Well, it's quite a long story. The truck has had quite an active service career in Ybor City, especially during the Depression time. The city bought it new after it was displayed at the Louisville, Kentucky Fire Chiefs Convention in 1925. The city bought it, and at that time it was blue with red wheels and had a lot of gold leaf striping on it. And it served all of its time in Ybor City at number 4 station before another truck was replaced there in the early 50s. The truck has been very active in all kind of activities around the city since its retirement. But going back to the time whenever the truck went out of service, it was then used as a reserve truck. When I came on the fire department in 1952, there were 10 of us, and we took a lot of our training on this truck at that time. And at that time, you had to be an active firefighter for 3 years before you could become a relief driver. So in 1953 or so, I became a relief driver, 54, I'm sorry. And the first day that I was a relief driver, this truck was in service as a reserve truck at number 1 because number 1 broke down. And so consequently, I got an opportunity to drive this truck to my first fire. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but during the time we were at training, they took 10 of us to a fire on Ashley and Royal Street, which is in northwest downtown Tampa, with this very same truck. The truck is very well known in the city of Tampa, and you'll see the name on the side of the truck, Perry G. Wall. He was the mayor of the city of Tampa at that time, and he is the mayor that purchased it under Chief J.B. Holton at that time.
We've moved now around to the front of the engine. As you can hear, we have it going. And Mike, give us an idea of what type of engine we're looking at underneath this hood.
This is a 6-cylinder T-head twin cam gasoline engine. It develops 130 horsepower, and it's 1,012 cubic inches. It has dual ignition, dual camshaft, and single carburation.
And let me make sure, this is the original engine from 1925.
Yes. Everything in here is original. It's the original 1925 engine, and it's patterned off of a Hall Scott Marine engine.
My goodness. Okay, now as we move down here, we saw you starting the engine. There seems to be a lot of gears and levers that you pulled. What was the sequence you had to go through? What were these buttons about? Let's show us here.
The two knobs that you have here, one is the choke and one is your gas mixture. And up on the top of the steering wheel here, the top lever is for the spark control and the bottom lever is for the throttle. The throttle is used to increase the speed of the engine at idle or when you're pumping. You have your magnetic control on the far left and you have your battery ignition on this side. The inner lever is the emergency brake. The outer lever is your transmission shifter. And this is your pump lever to engage it in pump gear. And this portion of the pump lever is the primer.
Now, for people who don't understand fire trucks, basically the pump that moves the water takes power from the engine to do that. So give us an idea of what you would have to do. You just pulled up at the fire, you're getting ready to pump water to help the firefighters get the thing under control.
We're going to take into consideration that you have your hose lines hooked up and your suction hose or however it is you plan to pump. So your first opportunity that you get, you park the truck, you put it in neutral and set the emergency brake, and I'll show you how you put it in pump gear.
And what has that done?
That has engaged the pump and it is ready to pump water.
And can this truck, 75 years old, still pump water?
Yes, sir, it sure can, and it holds a pumping record for the fastest drafting in the state of Florida for centrifugal.
An amazing piece of equipment, to say the least. Mike, up here on the fuel tank, we see the number 13 painted on there. What is that about?
The 13 represents the fact that this is the 13th piece of gasoline apparatus bought by the city. For many years, they ran the numbers sequentially, and then later on when computers came into vogue, they changed the numbers and made it a 4-digit number.
Very good. Now let's walk back this way here a little bit. Tell us about this ladders here. I know the modern ones are made of aluminum.
Yes, this is a 35-foot wood extension ladder, and this is the type of ladder that many departments used back then, and believe it or not, there's many departments that still use wooden ladders today.
I bet you it's a lot higher maintenance than the aluminum ladder.
It was kind of an annual or maybe every 2 years or 3 years, we had to wood these down, scrape them down to bare wood, finish them, and revarnish them to keep them in good order.
Now coming back here a little bit further, we have some older style nozzles. Matter of fact, Captain, you had a friendly nickname for this one sitting right here.
Yes, a lot of us fellows used to call these knuckle busters because of the fact that whenever they had water pressure against them and you were pumping against them, and they were so hard to turn on and off that you usually break your knuckles whenever your knuckles went by here and you were trying to push the thing to turn it off, or your hand would slip off and bust your knuckles.
Mike, this truck has a lot of firsts for you. I understand this is the first nozzle you actually fought a fire with.
That is correct. Whenever I completed my training, when I came on the fire department in 1952, I was stationed at Station 10 at 34th Street and 23rd Avenue. And we had quite a lot of fires there, and this was the lead nozzle on the truck that came off whenever you laid a line. This is the first nozzle that went in the building. And as you can see, it's a leader tip nozzle, and you screw this collar down, and after the fire is knocked down and you want to do overhaul or extend a line, you can hook an 1.5-inch line right onto that, turn this valve on, and supply the 1.5-inch line to do cleanup or overhaul.
So basically, you can knock down from the larger hose lines to the smaller hose lines just by attaching.
Yes, sir.
And was this a pretty sophisticated piece of equipment for its day?
Yes, it was. They were quite sophisticated in the fact that there weren't very many leader tip nozzles around at that time, and we had a few of them on the Tampa Fire Department, and they really did a nice job for us.
Captain Morris, the Fire Museum that's going to be built in downtown Tampa is going to need some memorabilia from Tampa's fire service past. And I understand that what you're holding in your hand here is probably the oldest piece of equipment that they're going to be able to find in reference to Tampa Fire Department's history.
Yes, that's correct. This was Chief Harris's speaking trumpet, and it will be the oldest artifact that will be on display in the Fire Museum. It was given to him by a firefighter in Brunswick, Georgia, as a gift for his services there before he came to the Tampa Fire Department. And over the years, it's had quite a bit of damage done to it because of people not realizing the value of it. But it has an awful lot of traditional value. And if you'll notice the horns or the trumpets on Captain Wade's collar, that is a representation of this. A lieutenant had one, captains had two, district or battalion chiefs had three, and so on up the line until 5 horns for the big chief.
And basically, what did this do, or how was this used?
It was used as a speaking trumpet like a megaphone, and he would shout his orders into the mouthpiece here, and it would magnify his voice so that the men on the fire scene could hear him.
So we're estimating that Chief Harris probably got this trumpet in what year?
Somewhere around 1885, 1890.
So, and then Chief Harris brought this to Tampa when...
To Tampa, yes, correct.
And what was Chief Harris's position?
Chief Harris was the first chief of the Tampa Fire Department. He organized it. He was my uncle. He was the first chief, and then he was brought back as the third chief.
And that was in...
1908, I believe it was.
Mike, we noticed you have a couple flags here on the front of this truck. We understand the city one means something special to you.
Yes, it does. When I was in the process of restoring this truck, and Mayor Dick Greco was mayor at the time, he donated this flag towards the truck, and I've kept it on there. It's been quite a conversation piece, and it represents the city of Tampa. And he sees it whenever the truck is on display someplace or whatever. He recognizes the flag that he donated, and it has a lot of meaning, and it represents the city of Tampa, which is my goal.
And we probably should specify, that was when Mayor Greco was the mayor the first time.
That's correct, when he was mayor the first time.
Captain Morris, as you're driving this truck around the city, what does it mean to you? It seems like this is an awful lot of work. Why do you do it?
It's a lot of work, but then again, I guess I'm a traditional person, and because of my family involvement with the fire department over the years, my uncle starting the fire department in Tampa, and my father was the first chief in West Tampa in 1904. I guess it's just something that's embedded in me that I can't get out, and I get a lot of pleasure out of driving the old truck around and enjoying it, and to know that it's fully functional.
And what type of reactions do you get from the public, from the people driving the other cars you're going down the street?
Well, a lot of times I get a lot of thumbs up because people just don't never see anything like this. And believe it or not, when you drive through a neighborhood and there's dogs in the yard, they don't usually pay attention to a car going by. But when this goes by, that wakes them up and they're running up and down barking because they've never seen anything like this.
What does it mean knowing that this truck is going to be going into the museum someday in downtown Tampa?
Well, the museum has been a dream of mine for many years. I tried starting a museum many years ago, and I couldn't get any interest from any of the fathers of the city at that time. And now that we have it in order and going in that direction, it's my wish that this goes in the museum when I die in honor of all the Tampa firefighters that died in the line of duty.
I understand that there's an event coming up on March 11th, Saturday, March 11th, where people can come to downtown Tampa to the Fire Museum at Zach and Jefferson and see not only this truck in person, but also other trucks a lot like it.
That is correct. There'll be an organization there, which my wife and I started in 1978, called FAB, and that's Florida Antique Bucket Brigade, and they will be represented there along with this truck with a bunch of the other older trucks, and there'll be one there as old as 1914, and it's fully functional.
So that'll be Saturday, March 11th. About what time do you think would be best for you?
I think it would be nice if folks would get there around 3:30 or 4 o'clock. They'll see if we have enough attendance of the trucks. We'll have pumping contests for the old vehicles, and they'll be on display, and there'll be various activities of the old vehicles. There'll be an auction. There'll be a cook-off for the firefighters also, a competition cook-off.
There's still a lot of work that has to be done to this old building behind me before it can be turned into a fire museum and life safety education center. This building has a lot of advantages, though. It's only a block from the Tampa Union Station. It's right near the Ybor Historic District, and it is an original building for the Tampa Fire Department. There's a lot of people working hard to turn this building into a museum reality, and we need some community support. So we're turning to you. We're letting you know about a fundraiser on Saturday, March 11th, in which there'll be a Firehouse cook-off, an antique truck muster, and a silent auction. Also, there'll be other community events. If you'd like to know more information about this fire museum and how to get involved in these community events, please give us a call at area code 813-274-8255. 7,000. For Fireline, I'm Captain Bill Wade. Good day.